Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another beautiful episode of the Youthfully Show. For those of us joining today's event, I am the host. Right. So this evening it is very cold in this part of the Lagos. Like I asked last I say your houses have not been serving your houses. There's about food in Lagos now. It's just taking away house and taking away food. There was a report like that last week. So I just hope you're safe and you're okay wherever you are listening to us right now. Today we're going to be talking about something I consider very, very important to life. Something that you want to know when I say in this particular topic. I said if you are somebody who knows going to be talking in front of an audience of 2,000, somebody who knows at one point or other you need to communicate your ideas and you need people to accept your views, accept your opinion. If you're a prefect, you're a president, you're a leader, you need to be able to master the art of public speaking. That you speak in front of people doesn't mean you're a public speaker. I guess that one way. So you're going to see him a few minutes from now. But before, I'm just going to tell you who he is. So who is Ubong Inyang? Who is Ubong Inyang, and why did I call him a captain of the industry when I set out the promotion for the particular topic? So here is his speaker of management leadership and communication consultant. He holds master's degree in business administration alongside strategic leadership and management. He is also a life coach who is committed to assisting people discover their value and worth to positively influence the world. He loves playing chess, listening to music, learning something new, and having intellectual conversations. Ubong Yang believes no one in the world is that great thing an impossible thought, right? So you're going to be blown away, I promise. He's going to be dishing out so much value, and I want you to stay with us, right? If you know somebody who is interested in public speaking, you know somebody who is looking to make money from public speaking, you know somebody who is into the speaking industry, get them here because you're going to be learning a lot. So welcome guys. So right about now we're going to take his welcome on board, sir. Welcome on board, Mr. Ubong.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Fabian. It's good to have you here as well.
I'm very excited. I'm very, very honored come visit us here at the Usefully. You made a great deal to us. It's a great deal. I remember when I reached out to you, I was a little bit, should I say, jittery about it. I was like, would he be free? To come join us at the show. But thank you so much for joining us because I know how much value you're going to be giving us this evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fabian.
So for the topic, winning with words, we're going to be taking it in two dimensions. In two dimensions. So the first part, will focus on public speaking as subject. We're going to be taking it from like the basics. What is public speaking and what does it entail? Like I said, quoting Mr. Yang, that you speak on a stage in front of a number of people, whether 1,000, doesn't necessarily mean that you are a public speaker in quotes. That you even attach it to your that look, I'm a public speaker, I can talk in front of people. It doesn't make you one, right? So there's a lot more to it, and we're going to be learning as the first part of this topic. And the second part will focus on how you can earn speaking. You can literally earn money from anything in the world. I told you that I loves playing chess. I was asking to teach me how to play, and he was telling how much he charges. He mentioned 100,000 and upward. Oh, that's amazing. It's amazing because another person may say it and then think this is just the game. Why should it teach people? Not everybody knows how to play chess. In fact, most people run away from the game because of technical and difficult it is. So if you're somebody who has this skill and then you're like one in a group of like say so you can make money off that. So you can literally make money off anything. The point I'm having is you can make money off public speaking, right? So the second part of this topic you're going to be learning, position yourself in order to earn from public speaking. So it's going to really intense in here. Get your friends in here. Don't miss any part of this show because you're going to learn a lot. Thank you once again and welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Fabian. You forgot to mention the fact that I did told you that there was a time I used to get 5,000 naira just to 5,000 naira if you can get yourself a board, and with the 5,000 naira, I'll be the one buying the drinks for us to learn chess, for us to understand and go through the process of chess. But now it's different because I have added value to it. Okay.
Yeah.
Bringing it to the subject matter of the day, public speaking. One might say, like you did mention, that the moment you speak in the public, you're actually a public speaker. Yeah, to some point you're right. And in another context, it's not true. For you to be a public speaker, it means to be tagged a public speaker. It means that you understand the rudiments of effective communication. It's not just about standing in front of people and talking. After all, you can stand in front of people and quake and cry and shiver and sweat. That's still public speaking. You are only communicating a message that your audience, in that sense, at that point in time, don't want to hear or don't want to see. We communicate. It's something everyone in the world does. It's something every living thing does. Communication. You can either do it through verbal, which is just 7%. The fact that you can hear me speak is 7% of communication. And you have 38% of my tonation. That if I have to make a few pauses or maybe whisper to you, that's still communication, but it carries a different dimension. And the last one, which takes most of the percentage, is the body language. Most people call it the science of kinesics. Some of my friends call it the language of the body. And some of my friends who are very naughty do call it the body of the language. Now, body language takes 55% of our communication. That if I stand by and tell you, you would definitely want to come closer to hear what I have to say. Or maybe if I begin to rub my shoulder, you would think that I'm having pains around that area. But that's me communicating without having to say a word. So we do communicate at all times. When the leaves of a tree turns yellow, it's communicating that it's not getting enough water or enough minerals from the soil. And with that, you know how to tend for the tree. If an animal refuses to eat or is yelling, you know there's something wrong with that animal. And that's communication. If a baby cries, the baby is not actually saying words, but you know that the baby crying means there's something that is not actually right at that moment with the baby. So we all do communicate. But how many of us, the question here is, how many of us do communicate effectively? How many of us do communicate efficiently? Now that's the question we should ask ourselves. And that's what brings us to saying this person is a public speaker. Because at that point, you've come to understand the rudiments and mastered the rudiments of public speaking. Now,
before you, sorry, sir, before you go on, before let me go on, I want your face to appear on the screen. So let me just let me be backstage so I can be writing too. So your face is good to take everyone on the screen, so I can also. Please go on, sir. Please go on, sir.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I think I saw the buffering thing there, and I thought it had to do with network. Now, there is a saying that public speaking is the most second most dreaded thing for any human being in the world. Now, the first one being death. We all know most of us do dread dying, but there are cases where if someone is dead and you are called upon to deliver the eulogy for that third person, you'd rather than stand in front of everyone to deliver this eulogy, you'd rather would accept to be the one in the coffin dead. Now, this goes on to say that glossophobia, which is the fear of speaking in the public, is a very serious challenge in our world of today. And many people understanding this situation have run to find ways to develop their public speaking skills by signing up for programs, trying to learn further, read more, listen to programs. And do these help? Yes, it does. Now, that takes me to the second part of this presentation. How do you win with words? I want to start by saying that anybody can make money from just about anything, even if you're selling cow dung, that's manure. If you know how to pitch yourselves very well and that cow dung has value to someone, you make money. So, and you see that in our daily lives, we find ourselves doing one thing or the other. Now, how can you make money from this thing? The only way you can do that is if you attach value to it. Value is the watchword here. Whenever you attach value to anything, it sells. Like when I was having a discussion with Fabian, and I told him that back in the days I will get 5,000 naira to teach you chess, and then even with that, I'll be the one buying the drinks while we're learning. But now I have seen ways that you can link chess to a lot of other situations or scenarios in life. Strategic planning, leadership, um, damage control, and the rest that we can mention that has to do with life. Now, if you can tell someone that he can link chess to such situations, and if he puts the strategies of chess in that life, in these life situations, that he can come out victorious, who wouldn't want to learn it? Who wouldn't want to pay that premium to learn it? So, in communication, how do you win with words? It is not just enough that you speak. What value do you deliver? I have friends that whenever I meet with them, and one of them just actually put up a message here. Whenever I meet with them, I have intellectual conversations that I know that I'm just not just wasting my time having drinks. And at some point, we started calling it social. That is not just a social drinking; that is an intellectual gathering. When you meet with people and you're learning and you're adding value to yourself, at some point, there will come a time that you will need to radiate that value to the world. And when you do so, value accompanies profit, value accompanies income. For you to move from a stage of free in public speaking to a fee, to getting paid for it, you need to attach value to the things you say. How can you do this? You need to be someone who is rooted in lifelong learning. I tell my friends that I read in two ways. One, convergent reading. If I want to strengthen my knowledge in a particular area that I am already into, let's say leadership, let's say communication, I read convergingly. But if I want to learn something new, something that I am not really versed with, I do a divergent reading. So this is divergent, this is convergent. In convergent, I'm narrowing down my knowledge, I'm narrowing down my focus. In divergent, I'm going this way, I'm opening it up. So it could happen that I wake up in the morning and say, what will I like to learn today? And go to Wikipedia and say car engines. I'm not an engineer, but reading about car engines today will give me the knowledge of how the system works. Now, these helps in situations where I will have to speak extemporaneously, speaking off the cuff. When someone gets to ask you questions like, I bought a car and I can hear very unfamiliar sound around the engine. With the little you've read about engines, believe me, you won't be found wanting in that conversation. I have had friends who bring the girlfriends for us for a sit out, and you find out that all the girl does is sit down and be picking suya. And with the conversation that is going on, if you ask her, okay, so what's your opinion in this? She said, oh. Now, let's say, what is the rudiment of effective communication? As I'm being asked here on the screen. If you understand that for you to start speaking in to an audience, you need to introduce yourself. Someone needs to know your that you are speaking from a point of authority, like Fabian did when he started out. He read my profile, he introduced me. You need to break the ice. That's what they call in Toastmasters. You need to break the ice. And breaking the ice, it gives the opportunity for the other person to know your level of experience, how vast you are, or which area he can dabble into in a discourse with you. Now, introducing yourself also gives the other person the confidence to go into that conversation with you, knowing that you're no more a stranger. I remember when I was young, my mother told me, don't speak to strangers. But if that stranger is intelligent enough to tell me, oh, my name is this, what is your name? By the time I tell my name, we are no more strangers. At that point, we are acquaintances. My mom did not say I shouldn't speak with acquaintances. So if you find yourself in a flight with someone and heading somewhere, and the person seated next to you is probably engaged in a novel or a book, if you want to strike a conversation, find out what's the interest of the person, and if you have the same interest with the person. Excuse me. After which, you then introduce yourself. At that point, you're no more strangers. You can relate on grounds that you know each other. Now, second, you need to understand that for you to communicate effectively, you need to learn to organize your speech. Every communication will have an opening, a body, and a closing. It's like a short movie. A movie will have the opening where the characters are introduced. The main character is shown either as a baby or him coming out of somewhere. Now you now go to the body, where the problem lies, the challenges, and then you then get to the end where probably the hero of the movie then gets to solve this challenge. It's the same in public speaking. You need to understand that every conversation or every presentation you have will have an opening, a body, and a closing. Now, you move to the next one. Get to the point. Most times, when people want to give presentations in front of others, what they do is they just ramble on endlessly and it bores your audience. Now, if you were to start talking to me and you say, I have 3 points to give to you, and I will say, okay, I'll listen. You say point number one, point number two, and point number three. At that point, I realize that you've drifted to an end. So, to put that into practice, in this effective communication, we have 10 points, which I have given you point number three. Point number four, how to say it. In life, we basically communicate for four reasons. One, to inform someone. Two, to inspire someone. Three, educate someone. Four, to entertain someone. If you can bring to a juxtapose these four elements, then your speech or your presentation will be delivered with great power. So you need to know how to say it. How do you want to communicate with this person? Do you want to entertain the person? Do you want to inform the person? Do you want to educate the person? Or do you want to inspire the person to do something great? Now, we go to the fifth one. Your body speaks, body language. Most of the times you find out that when people talk, especially from a podium, they cling to the podium. They'll just hold it there, frozen at the podium. Now, it's not an effective way of communicating in the public. You need to speak with your body. Remember, 55% of our communication is body language. So, what are your hands doing? Clinging to the lectern, clinging to the stage. You need to learn to throw your hands around, make gestures. You wave to show if someone is following you. You gesture to the right, to the left. You show things in order or sequence so people can follow you even without hearing you. Someone said that your body speaks so loud that I cannot hear what you say. Your body speaks so loud that I cannot get to hear what you're saying. So, my seeing you, I've gotten the message that whatever you're saying doesn't really make sense to me anymore. But I have gotten the message with your body language. Now, if someone said yes, which one would you take? Or said no, which would you take?
I don't know. I don't
Yeah, you
ask
see,
the
your gauge is as good as mine. I see. Definitely go with the rather than no, because you are communicating with your body. Now, body language is more of a universal language. If someone says, with the squint on the face, with the facial expressions, it tells that the person is displeased with what you're doing, regardless of wherever you are in the world. If someone smiles, it shows that the person is pleased with what you're doing, regardless of wherever you are in the world. So body language is more of a universal communication than just the words you speak. And you need to learn how to use this effectively while you're on the stage. 6, vocal variety. When you vary your words, your voice, I call it tempo modulation and drag. By increasing the tempo of your voice or dragging your words that I have done, or pauses. These are rhetoricals used in communication. So if I speak loud enough, you know I'm angry. And I come close to you to whisper, you know that we're sharing secrets. Or maybe I pause. You know that there's something I'm waiting to expecting, or something I'm waiting to say that I want to drag your attention. Now that's it. 7, researching your topic. It is not enough that you just stand out and then say lots of things and you don't show authority in what you're saying. By showing authority, you need to state where the information is coming from. You don't just say, I heard that the president of Kuvuki is dead. Your friends will ask you, who told you? If they are the kind of friends I have, they'll ask you, who told you? Now, you have to say, I read in today's tabloid that so happened. Now you can state tabloid. If they ask you, which of the tabloids, you can state. Or I heard over the news, which of the channels, CNN, there are channels that you know have integrity and you can rely on them for your information. Although I do call CNN constant negative news. However, regardless, they still give you information. We move on to the eighth one, using visual aids. Now, people have different ways of learning. I call it the VAT system: the video, audio, reading and writing, and the kinesthetics. VARK, VARK. Now, you need to understand that some people will learn more if you can show them a picture of what you're trying to describe. Some people will learn, which then will be visual. Some people will learn more if you can tell them, if they can listen to it, probably put it into an audiobook, the message into a song. They will grasp it faster. Some people will learn faster if you get them involved. That is kinesthetics. Get them involved. So they're doing it with their hands and they won't forget. There's a particular quote from Confucius that says, show me, I may forget. Teach me, I may not remember. But what you have me do with my hands, get me involved, and it will stay with me forever.
Yeah.
Some people learn this way. Now, we move on to the ninth one. How many do we have left?
I think one more. I think you said 10.
One more after 9. Yes, I said 10. Now, persuading with power. Remember when I said something about chess? You need to have good persuasive skills to sell your value. You may have gold in your sack, but if you don't know how to sell it, no one will believe you. You may even bring or diamond, you may even bring it out and say, this is diamond. And they'll say, no, it looks synthetic. That's because you don't know how to sell it. You're not persuasive enough. So, persuasion is an important skill in communication, in effective communication. When you learn persuasive skills, you can get people to do things that they would naturally not want to do themselves. But you've persuaded them to be involved. And persuasion is an important skill in leadership. For you to inspire people to live where they are and you can get them to where they ought to be, you need to have the right persuasive skills. For
Yeah,
people to
sure.
leave whatever they're doing in their lives to follow you, you need to have the right persuasive skills. So learning how to persuade people is an important part of communication. Now, the last one, inspire your audience. If you can get your audience to forge a new path after listening to you, you have inspired them. That when people listen to you, they go back home and they are motivated to forge a new path, to blaze a new trail. Then it could be said that you are a competent communicator, that you've communicated effectively and efficiently. Now, there's a question that has shown up here. How do we overcome stage fright? We still, even for great speakers, if you ask them, they'll tell you they still have butterflies rolling in their tummies when they are called up to speak.
Wow,
A situation where you, yes,
that's comforting.
it happens all the time. Yeah, it is said that courage is not the absence of fear.
Yeah,
The fact that they say you are courageous, it means that you are faced with fear, that you are faced with a situation that you should be afraid, but you've chosen not to because you understand that whatever you're going through at that moment is not as important as the goal you've set before you that you need to deliver. So, how do you overcome stage fright? You need to practice. There is no magic about it. You need to practice. It's like a child who doesn't read before exams. When you step into the exam hall, you will be confused. But if you practice, if you've studied, you go into the exam hall confident and comfortable. The more you practice, the more confidence you get. Now, you need to also understand that confidence is not an internal thing, confidence is an external thing. External in the sense that you need to read, go through an exam, pass it, and then you begin to have confidence that whenever you read and are faced with exams, that you pass because you prepared. So it's an external factor that you look at. I have succeeded before, and because I did this, I prepared. In that case, if I always prepare, I will always succeed. That doesn't mean that failure once in a while will jump in. There's a saying that goes that if you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail. Now, in such a case, it tells you that you need to practice. There will be times that even when you've practiced, you step out, your palms will be wet, your mouth will be jittery,
yeah, it happened to me many times.
your your knees will be wobbling. They will come. But if you have practiced, if you know the content of your speech that you're going to deliver, you will get through. Now, this is a trick I tell most of my mentees. Whenever you have to speak in front of any audience, quote your opening line and your closing line. Note, whenever you have to speak before any audience, quote your opening line and your closing line. That way, no matter how jittery or how frightened you are of the crowd, naturally, because it is internalized in you, your subconscious now picks up that opening line and runs it effortlessly. Let's say you open with a quote. or maybe a rhetorical question, or maybe a short story. You find out that that story, before you complete that story, you must have gained confidence because people now expect more from you. At that point, the fear is off and confidence comes in. But if you don't quote your opening line and your closing line, when you stand before an audience and you are swaddled with fear, all that you had jumps off your head. And you'll be thinking, what will be the best line to begin talking to this audience? And ideas will come, ideas will come, ideas will come. And you're overwhelmed with these ideas. Before you know it, none of it comes out of your mouth, but yet your jaw is dropping. And the next thing you'll find out that tears will start rolling the person's eyes.
Ouch.
It happens. So quote your opening lines, quote your closing lines. Do we have any other question there?
Yes, this one I want to ask it myself. Crafting is probably like the second most difficult process in speaking, because before you even get onto the stage, you must have written something down. And sometimes you discover that when you're on stage, what you wrote down is not what you're saying. I don't know if that happens to you, but that's happened to me quite a number of times. So what I wrote down, I didn't remember most of them. So I myself reaching back into what I already knew, like, cover up and all that. So how do we craft a message such that we can take everything with us on board, or is it that we cram these things? Because when you say practice, it sends different messages to me. So we've written something down and then we keep reciting. Is that what practice means? So we don't miss
No,
any,
it's
like,
not.
okay.
No, it's not. Now let me explain this to you. Now, practicing is not quoting. Practicing means you have internalized the idea you want to present. In that, even if you're asked to tell the story from back to the front, you will deliver it. Even if you're asked to tell the story from the middle to the end, you will be able to deliver it. What most people do, like in exams, if you quote a particular course, go into the exam hall, yes, it comes out, you write, because it stays, when you quote, it stays in what I will call your catch memory. So it's not the pattern of that learning is not deeply embedded in your brain. When you learn, it's like writing, you adding more strokes on a piece of paper. If you make one stroke, it's light. You make another stroke, it becomes deeper. The more you make strokes, that line becomes deeper, and that's how we learn. Now, if you are quoting, you are just trying to make one stroke and just follow it. If you are distracted by anything at all, they all leave your brain.
Yeah.
You need to reconnect to the first thing to follow through that path once again. But if it is deeply rooted in your memory, it stays longer. And the easiest way to put things in your memory is to use anecdotes, analogies, and stories. Stories, what they do, even for your audience, for you them to remember, is it excites their brain, and the brain releases a particular hormones called vasopressins, and vasopressins will help the memory to retain that knowledge. In such a case, if there's something you learn and then there was a story attached to it, you find out that you remember the story and then you remember the lesson.
Yeah.
So in cases where you need to do presentations, you can either do point story or story point. You deliver the short story and
Very,
then
very
link it
good.
to
So,
a point, or
okay.
you state the point and then back it up with a short story. That way, it the person listening to you retains it, and that's the same way for learning. That you don't need to quote it. First, if you have a draft, you write out a skeletal work. You have your opening. What do you want to be your opening line, and how do you want to introduce yourself in as part of that opening? What do you want to be the content of your body? How many points do you want to discuss, and then how do you want to conclude? What would be your recommendations? And when you understand this, it will be easy for you to navigate your way, even when you don't follow it chronologically.
Wow, that's really amazing. The point story or story point secret. It's really something I've gotten from this. Okay, so sir, the next question before we allow you to talk about it's not supposed to show.
Okay, I
Okay,
think
so
I've seen a few questions there, so let's see if we can address it. Okay, just to bring it to winning with words. Now, if you can if you can practice the art of speaking in the public or public speaking, as most people want to say, and you can attach value to it, there'll come a time that you will become better. It doesn't mean that you're going to get paid almost immediately, but the more you have opportunities to present your speeches, your works, people will begin to understand that you are very vast in this field or that aspect. And you need a platform that will help you improve. You need feedbacks. As they say, feedbacks is the breakfast for champions. You
yeah.
need feedbacks, you need critical and positive evaluations. And to me, the best place you can find this is in Toastmasters. All you need to do is Google www.toastmasters.org and turn on your location and click on a club near me. Toastmasters has been in existence for 96 years, and ever since it has helped lots of people overcome their fears of public speaking. Or if Toastmasters is too far away from you, you can contact me, and then we can either work virtually to get you to overcome your fears, or work physically to get you to overcome your fears of public speaking. So, now what books on public speaking would you recommend, sir? Uh, there's no book per se on public speaking that I can recommend, but there are books that can recommend that will improve your public speaking. First one is How to Make Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Second one would be Mastery by Robert Greene.
Wow.
Um, okay, I'm looking at my shelf now to see. Third one will be uh, ooh, no book has actually come to mind yet. But if you need the collection of books that mostly I read, would be the Mastery, Robert Greene. I've stated that the Three Strategies of War, Robert Greene. The Laws of Human Nature, Robert Greene. 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene. 50th Law, Robert Greene, The Art of Seduction, Art of Attraction, Robert Greene. I'm a fan
Doctor.
of Robert Greene. Yeah. And we go to The Greatest Salesman in the World of Mandino, and we go to Midas Touch, Trump, and the rest. Okay, would you advise we give out our complimentary cards to companies asking them to invite us?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
your complimentary card alone is not an efficient persuasive tool.
Okay.
I tell people, most of my friends know that I say I can get a job just about anywhere, and I'll walk in, I'll tell you, you need a CV, you're looking at it. Ask just about any question in the field. Before I would do that, I would must have been deeply read in that aspect and even the adjoining areas of such a sector. Now, when you go with confidence and tell someone, I can do this thing, they are more interested, they'll be more interested in what seeing you do it than what you present. So most times it's not just your complimentary card. You need to convince the person that this is why he should call you. And you need to stand your grounds when you know your value. You need to know what you're worth. Most people get shaky, and when people say, we don't want you, they feel that the world is over for them. Failure is not a stop sign, dejection is not a stop sign. It means you either have to increase momentum or you make a turn, maybe to the right or to the left. However, when people say they don't want you, they should it should it should forge you into being more determined to succeed. So complimentary cards alone wouldn't cut it. If you're handing your complimentary card to someone, it should be after you must have persuaded the person or convinced the person or confused the person to choose you as against others. So when the complimentary card gets into his hand, he cherishes it. If not, your complimentary card alone,
So
into the
let's talk
trash.
about adding price tags to our speaking engagements. So someone just walks up to you and says, okay, and says, we want you to speak at our event, and then let's say the person is a pastor. You don't want to tell the person, look, sir, after what I charge for speaking is this amount. So how do we, do the pricing thing? Or is it necessary when you're just starting out as a newbie in the speaking industry?
When you are starting out, no one comes into the market and begin and all of a sudden have customers, have clients. You must have solidified your presence in that sector, in that community, in around you, that they know that you're capable of delivering, that they are assured that you're capable of delivering. Then you can start naming your price. There is a thing we say in Toastmasters that at that point you've moved from free to fee, taking out the R. You've moved from free to fee. And you will see that as it goes, the more stages you have to practice, the more confident you become. Now,
Yeah.
there are levels towards mastery of anything, and it's also a level in knowledge transfer and learning. It's called the competence and consciousness. So we have four levels. The first one is the unconscious incompetence, where you don't know that you don't know, and you will see such people will step out in front of people and will be scattering English, doing the very wrong things of public speaking and not care because
Yeah.
they don't know that they don't know. Unconscious incompetence. Then you move to the next level, conscious incompetence. At the level of conscious incompetence, you know that you don't know
But you
and
don't
you
get.
seek to know. Like most of the people who are listening in to this program right now, uh, very likely at the level of conscious incompetence, that they know they don't know and they're seeking knowledge to know.
Yeah.
Then you move to the next third one, which is conscious competence. You know that because you've learned that you can then implement, and at that point, you begin to practice even more. If you are called upon, you will need a few times to practice, some moments to practice, rehearse your presentations, research, and then deliver. Then you go to the final one, which is the unconscious competence. Even if they tap you from your sleep and say, Bros, come and handle this event, you will easily deliver without washing your face. Now that's the level of unconscious competence. And we graduate through these different levels in knowledge and in value. So we can move from a point of talent to mastery and authority through these
So so
four
so
levels.
we start adding price tag to our speaking engagements at the level of conscious competence when we know that we know, right?
Yes, yes. That it will take a few practice and research to deliver. Yes, you start
Yeah.
adding price tags at that point.
For some people, it's some people have this mental limitation they have put on themselves that no matter how good people say they are, I've been at a point in where I kept asking myself, these things I write, are they really, blessing anyone at all? Like, am I as inspirational as people say I am? Many people have that mental limitation, like they put on themselves, like they don't believe they can ever be at a level where they are considered good. So they believe in perfectionism. So what do we say to those guys? How do we know that we've gotten to that level where we can say we know, right? So it's more or less like an internal battle, a a mind war, basically, sir.
Okay, now the problem is your BS, your belief system, and it forms your false self, which most people will call ego. Now, when you have ego problems, you find out that you want something to be perfect.
Mm, wow. You
And
go.
when you want something to be perfect, it keeps you from starting. You don't want to start. You have problems beginning small, and that is a problem on its own. You need to know that doing anything is a process in life, and process will meet with failures, will meet with challenges, will meet with setbacks. But understanding that you have to forge ahead is the most important lesson you should learn, and not the idea that it should be perfect. I'm not saying that you shouldn't aim for perfection. No, aim for perfection while you are in the process.
Mm.
After all, as part of success, you should set big goals, aiming for the stars. Because if you don't aim for the stars, it's very unlikely that you will even land in the clouds. So aim for the stars, aim big, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't start small. A man said that learn to fly, but then understand that you will crawl, that you
Yeah.
will walk, that you will run before you fly.
Wow. That's powerful. That's I think that's like that has summarized everything there is to know about winning with words, especially for those of us who are very new in the industry. Right? And this program, this particular segment of winning with words, we're going to be repeating this particular topic, winning with words, make it in episodes, winning with words one, two, three, and all that. But for this particular episode, the first one, we're focused on those who are new in the industry, those who are looking to find their footing in public speaking. So if you've not taken anything away, take away the fact that there are four stages, to competence. There is your unconscious incompetence. I think I don't know how you put it there. Four stages to something where you said unconscious incompetence. I need you to correct me right now. There's the conscious incompetence, the conscious competence, and the unconscious competence, right? So you start putting price tags at the level when you have conscious competence, you know that you know, and then you just need practice and research to be able to make your presentations, right? And then to not be afraid to start out because you may be looking at the fact that people have gone ahead of you. There are so many speakers in the world today. Everybody's coming, everybody talk. There is programs organized by people. They are inviting speakers, and you'll be like, so there are so many people who didn't even have time for me and all that. So I just want to let you know there is room for you, right? There is room for you. There is something I just discovered, that is a trademark of a true leader. Everyday emergence. Everyday emergence. And what it means is a true leader knows that he never arrives at the points where he can say, I am perfect, so I don't need to learn again.
That's
Everyday
true.
emergence calls upon the true leader to keep learning, to keep growing, to keep improving, to keep studying, spending hours and hours, time and time again to make research, to get exposed so that no situation will come that will take you off guard, as a leader. So practice everyday emergence, and like our guest speaker said, learn every day. Dedicate your life to learning because you wouldn't know where you'll be, and then they will ask a question about something that is not related to your darling course. Your darling course is the course you read in school, right? They will ask something maybe about cars, like you mentioned, something completely out of what you were supposed to talk about, and you're a speaker in that event. Then maybe somebody in the audience is asking a question. You can't say you don't know, right, on stage. Right? I don't know. It sounds someone correct me if I'm wrong, sir. But if you're a speaker on a world stage where everybody's listening to you, and the expectation has been pegged so high that you have to deliver, and then they're asking you a question from the audience, and you're saying, and I didn't read about that. It was not what I studied in school. It doesn't sit well with the audience, right? So you have to dedicate yourself
It
to
doesn't.
lifelong learning. So, sir, any last words
There
for
is
us?
before I give the last words, there is nothing wrong in not knowing.
Okay.
After all, we are students. We are students of life itself,
Yeah.
and we gain experience as we grow, and we learn as we grow. But the thing is, not having an opinion at all is
Mm,
it's dangerous to any public
yeah.
speaker. Not having an
Yeah.
opinion, not having
Let
any
me write.
basic knowledge of it. There is nothing wrong in not knowing. We cannot. There is no one who's a reservoir of knowledge,
Mm,
but not having an opinion towards it. Even if you don't know, ask questions. There's nothing wrong in asking. Okay, what can you relate this thing to? And the person says, okay, it's related to this, that. At least you know something. As part of Toastmasters, there's a session we call the table topics, where you're asked to speak off the cuff, extemporaneously on your feet. You're asked the question that, yeah, and you're given few seconds to answer the question. That
Yeah.
prepares you for situations like that, when people get to ask you questions and answer. When I have sessions with people, I said, okay, first, let's look at questions in line that are in line with what we have just listened to or what we have just heard. Then let's ask me a question about anything in life. I'm not saying that I know all, but even in your asking, I am learning, because in the process you may ask me for something I don't know, and I will go back and
And
learn.
yeah, yeah,
Yes. Now, as part of communication, you need to learn the art of reflecting. When you said something there about people who don't want to fail, is because they don't get feedbacks. You need to understand that when you speak in front of people, you need to get feedback from them on how you fared. Did you do well? Like when I'm done with this presentation, I will love some people to drop DMs to me. Okay, what are the things I did? I did you liked, and how could I improve my speaking, or what are the aspects I should have touched that I did not, and what are the things you really loved about the presentation in a CRC format. Comment, recommend, and comment. But if you cannot do the format, just tell me what you felt about the presentation. That way I learn. Because when I go back to these evaluations, these feedbacks, I get to know that my audience had such expectations that were not met. So next time I will endeavor to inculcate that into my presentation. And probably if the person who dropped that feedback will be there in the next presentation, the person sees that I had taken that feedback into consideration, and that shows that I'm improving and I'm learning and I'm growing. A man once said, I think this had to do with Mahatma Gandhi, that we should live as if we will live forever, as if we will die tomorrow, and learn as if we are going to live forever. We should live as if we are going to die tomorrow, and learn as if we're going to live forever. So as long as you're, for me, as long as I'm breathing, I should be learning.
wow, wow. Thank you so much, sir. We've had an amazing 1 hour. It's been really intense in here. I've written a whole lot down on my book. Something things I know I'm going to be put to practice to help me as a speaker too, because I know there is so much to learn, and I am not backing off right now, because at times you see the things you're supposed to learn. You see how much you don't know, and it frightens you. Like, instead of just going ahead to start, let me just stay where I am. So learning can be exercise, but take it one step at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 day at a time, right? Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the show today. We would like to, bring you back, maybe some other time when you're free. But we'll talk, sir.
I was almost tempted to say anytime, but myself and you to know that that's that would be difficult to attend. Not
Yes,
impossible. That would be difficult to attend. But I do appreciate what you're doing. I'm very pleased, and I know that, and in a way, you are injecting value into a system, which is what we're talking about today. And tomorrow, who knows? You could be doing this presentation or for channels. You could be doing it for Silverbird, and even aiming higher, you could be doing it for CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera. Who knows? But beginning from here, learning all the way, and having your niche, very important. Have your niche. Have a sector you want to address. Have a sector. For me, it's communication, leadership, and management. So everything I do circumvents around that. Even if I have to If I have to go to a corporate body and deliver a presentation or a seminar, it's still around leadership, management, and communication. And leadership is vast, management is vast, marketing is part of it, strategy is part of leadership, communication, persuasion is part of it. So it's knowing the sector. And to even start with, the barrier of entry for public speaking is very low. So anybody can become a public speaker, could earn money from public speaking. Anybody is very low. What do you need? You're not paying for the saliva, are you? You're not paying for the air, are you? So all you need to do is just inject value into your head, learn things, get new skills, go to some capacity building programs, and develop yourself. Get as many certificates or diplomas or masters or PhDs or degrees. Get yourself out there, work, learn, and by the time you attach value to yourself and to whatever you're selling, you make money. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, so guys, um, I want to say thank you for staying with us up to this time. I really, really appreciate you. I really, really appreciate you, the audience, always taking out time to watch us. It really means a lot to us at the Youth School. Say a shout out to Abiding TV for the platform given to the Youth School to deliver this content. Right? Thank you so much, Abiding TV. Thank you, beautiful audience. Next, we're going to be talking about something that pertains to relationship. Don't miss it. I know usually when we're having relationship talks, it excites most of us. So come around. It's going to be really amazing. Wednesday by 5 same time, right? You're going to be learning a lot. So thank you very much for staying with us up to this time. Until we come your way again next week. My name is Philip Collins, and this is the Useful Issue.